With the military now in charge of Egypt, what steps are being taken to ensure a transition to democracy? Joining me now is Egypt's ambassador to the United States, Sameh Shoukry, a friend of the program, trying to explain what is happening in Egypt. First and foremost, who is in charge? Yes, the military, but is Vice President Suleiman still there? Is Prime Minister Ahmed Shafiq?
The Supreme Military Council is chaired by the Minister of Defense, Field Marshal Tantawi, so he would be in charge collectively with the Council. The Council has decided to maintain the current government of Prime Minister Ahmed Shafiq as a caretaker government to be changed at a later stage.
So, the military now, and also Prime Minister Shafiq's latest communique, is that the prime aim is to restore security. But that seems to be a little bit of odds with what the protesters are saying, many wanting to stay there until their democratic aspirations are met, or at least outlined.
Certainly there's a security void and it's necessary to restructure the police force, but also the economic conditions must be addressed as well. So the first priority are security and the economic welfare, but that doesn't preclude that the reform process would not go ahead as well.
Well then tell me exactly what we expect. When will the emergency law be lifted?
In accordance with the fourth communique of the Supreme Military Council, it would be lifted as soon as the current conditions of protest have been terminated.
But when? Next week? Next year?
They haven't defined yet a specific timetable. I believe that they will do so as conditions stabilize.
So that also uncertain, that a key demand of the US and of the protesters. What about a clear roadmap to elections? Will elections happen in September, as President Mubarak had been saying?
Well, yesterday the Field Marshal had meetings with the Minister of Justice and with the Chief of the Supreme Court in an effort to start to formulate the legislative and constitutional reforms that are necessary to hold free and fair elections.
Do you think that's in a matter of months for elections or a year or so?
There are conflicting opinions within the opposition and the government related to the time span that might be needed.
Could it be a year?
I've heard some in the opposition speaking about the necessity of a year so as to establish the political environment, so as the parties will be able to present their platforms and field their candidates.
Without President Mubarak as the ally, very pro-Western, pro-United States, had that close relationship with Israel, do you think a new system in Egypt will be as automatically favorable to doing what the US wants, what Israel wants, as the previous one?
I think the government of Egypt does what is in its best interest and that of its people. And these issues are institutional issues. The relationship, US-Egyptian relationship, is a deep and
can the US count on the same kind of support as it had before?
Certainly, these issues are driven by mutual interest, by Egyptian interests, and interest remains a close association to the United States.
Where is President Mubarak?
I have no immediate knowledge of his whereabouts.
Is he in Sharm el-Sheikh?
I believe he is in Egypt. I have no information related to specifically where he might be.
But in Egypt?
That's my understanding.
A lot of concern about Israel's international treaties. Yes, the Egyptian military said it would honor the treaties, but people are still worried. Do you believe in the future the peace treaty with Israel will stand?
I do believe so. The treaty has been beneficial to Egypt over the last 30 years or more. We have derived a peace dividend from the treaty. We've been able to establish security and stability in the region, and I believe it is a main element in terms of our foreign policy.
Ambassador Shoukry, thank you for joining us.